Okay. No, I want that. I know ad breaks are running, but that's fine. I don't know what that looks like on YouTube. You can never tell as the streamer. We should probably go do the announcements thing as well. Like, let people know that I'm actually streaming. No, I'm like, okay. So, then the announcements. Do not watch Gran Turismo streams while streaming. It's just unhealthy. Okay. No, I didn't mean for the shout out. Okay. So, yesterday, um, previously on the fail stream, um, I had this feeling that this would be a problem, and I was proven correct. So, when the deployment runs, it does not create the volume claims, etc. Also, so I should probably restart. I've jumped forward a step. So yesterday after stream, I did a little bit extra on trying to get this object up and running so that I had it in harmony with the way that this was being done in uh, with everything else, with the Plumi deployment. So I had this. Basically, I did the storage. I created the config map. I created the stateful set. I created the service. Right. So I configure the service, create the storage, get the config map, set the stateful set. However, it does not want to attach, right, anything here, right? So I can't make this create that storage. Now, my thought was that being that I am referencing it and I am mounting it, that it would know to do that. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So when I go to here, oh, and by the way, Rider has some tools actually built in that I cannot actually remember what the icon is. I need to change that icon to something I can remember, or maybe put the words there. But anyway, so Rider does actually have auto refresh forbidden. I don't whatever that means. Automatic refresh is enabled. Rider actually does have the tools to show you all the pieces. So that's pretty cool. So you can see it all within Rider as well. However, let's do this. So here's how things are working. I have all the mapping done. So in the program, if I run the application, if I just run this, it will use Docker and it will create a container and it will create me a SQL container. That's equivalent to what I have now. So in Docker here, SQL Server, Docker Compose. Actually, if I map it over properly, then I can do all this stuff here, right? I can do that. And I could set all this up the same way and get that running. And then you can set publish as Kubernetes service. So even though this runs as a Docker container locally, what I can do is I can go here and I can do Spire publish publish like that, right? And that will, I'm in the K8S folder. I'm going to start referring to it as K8S. It's just easier than Kubernetes or K8S. But I'm in the K8S folder. And what that will do is it will create all the relevant charts and components for Kubernetes. So that's nice and simple. Awesome. Great. Except it doesn't work. So if I run this, and I'm doing it, it'll recreate the files. There's a few problems with it. Now, I'm not sure I have the time or energy to go and figure out how this is structured to go and make the relevant PRs or check things out. So I'm questioning how far I take this. So a few problems. So the chart, it gets created, it creates it as a Spire. I assume there's some namings and stuff I can put somewhere. The values, there's my SQL password, my SA password, although that's like, that's taken that password, hasn't it? Hold on. Oh. That's not the password I set. That's a different password. That's interesting. I don't think they're pulling the passwords from where they think they're pulling the passwords from. So that's that. If I go to values, that's the wrong value. Oh dear. That ain't the value. That's the value. That's the SQL password we exported from the existing Kubernetes, the Pulumi deployment. Ouch. So that's pulling the wrong value. Oh no, so what are these values? If that's the config map, what are these values for then? Interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. I thought values were to feed things in, and yeah, okay. Well, I guess we get to learn that. So I suppose the thing is I've got to figure out what it is. Let's see the app. That's wrong as well. I've got to figure out what's wrong, actually wrong, what I'm missing from a configuration perspective, and you know, what's the right thing to do. So this is going to be challenging to get working. It also puts weird labels on things. I'm pretty sure that should be that. These don't need to be strings. Actually, target port here is into a string, but if it's a string, it has to have characters in it. So I assume it has a name of some form, and otherwise it has to be an integer. That I've learned already. And then again here, this is necessary. So I think, yeah, see app ls SQL server. Maybe this will change the behavior. App ls SQL server. The problem is every time it writes this, I have to recreate this, which is a major problem for me. Okay, so if we go back here now, so now with that done, I can do helm install liquid sky stage, which is just the name for this particular piece with the namespace ls SQL server. And when I do that, it will deploy. And if I go over here, I will see a deployment ls SQL server with one pod, ls SQL deployment running. Now the problem is this is a SQL server running, but if you notice, it also creates SQL Server 0. It also has not created any persistent volumes. So it's not created any storage. It's not referenced any storage. It's created a service, SQL service, point, security, where are you? Network. I think that's it. Persistent storage, deployments, pods, one stateful set SQL Server, but it's created a SQL Server 0. But you see this stateful set that it's created has a pending pod, but the deployment has a pod. So I'm not sure what structure I'm looking at here. Also, I don't think anything is called ls SQL. So either my labeling is wrong, or yeah, or something else. So I'm going to go through that, see if I can get things lining up. I know this is impossible to fix because if you look at the actual configuration, the ports, when I set the ports, they're numbers. So they export them as strings, which is probably not correct. So maybe if I get, so that's the SQL Server part. The stateful set has the right name. So what we do is we do helm uninstall, which will remove all the pods, remove the deployments, etc., so we can clean everything up, right? So all that goes away now. That's good. That's all cleaned. So I think step one is think about naming properly, right? Namespacing and naming. These labels are just driving me crazy. So we can do that. Oh no, I can't because it's left hand side is not. It's yeah. Ding-a-ling, of course. We don't do anything with the storage. Now, again, these don't do anything because you don't actually add the storage that way. The storage, as I understood it from my previous configuration, was done by just by associating them here, right? So that's a problem. Interesting that it puts that string out there in those values. That's an interesting one. Like, I get it. This is in preview. This is not necessarily oh, why are you on a what? Why are you on 9.2? That's not right. Why would I install 9.2? I installed this yesterday. The CLI is not going to work with anything below 9.2, below 9.3. It says quite explicitly it won't work with 9.2. So let's try that again then. Let's see what happens. It might be that the tooling was exporting the wrong thing because it was using the wrong version. Let's see if that changes it. Mojo, how are you doing? This is, unless this changes majorly right this second, this is kind of janky. Okay, so we have a chart. We have the wrong password again. We have the right password there. Oh, it's oh no, it hasn't. It's replacing things it shouldn't replace. It's doing all sorts of weird stuff. Putting things in strings that shouldn't be in strings. I need to namespace things better. So in general, I get how it's meant to work. So this could very much be the fact that I'm not lining these up properly. Okay, there's chart. That's concerning. So I tested it yesterday, right, Mojo? And basically, if I run the application, I get a container. So I get my normal SQL Server container like that, right? But then if I publish it, I get this version of it, right? The problem is those values are pulling this string, because that's the password that should be in values. I don't know why values is even set, but that's what it should be. It shouldn't be referencing that because these values are for K8S, not for. Okay, Helm install. Let's see what happens now. So if I have to do this every time, it's going to get frustrating. So we have a deployment, we have a pod. No, bad pod. Do we have any storage yet? No. So it can successfully deploy a SQL server, but you can't use anything that's referenced to the SQL server because the actual SQL server it should generate is here, sat there waiting, and never gets started. So it starts a version. It's like it's starting. It's like it's starting this one, right? But then configuring this one at the same time. It's got all the right paths, that's and all the right volume claims, but these don't exist. Also, by the way, if you have this, it also has a very good explorer in here. He says, as he doesn't actually see the pod that he just deployed. That's the one. No, did it before. LS SQL was in here before. Yeah. Oh well. Either way, they're also getting the tooling is in Rider as well a little bit, so which is kind of cool. Auto refresh forbidden. Right, but you don't have a refresh. But anyway, that's neither here nor there because the truth is nothing's getting done. So yeah. So it's generating files, but the files are not correct. It's got quirks. It's not labeling things properly, even though, so just for reference there, I do have the labels attached. So the labels are the same labels over and over again, right? So I made sure they're there. So labels here, the selector is the labels, right? But it's doing some sort of weird referencing thing. So it's like it's pulling in the actual reference address rather than the actual object. LSC, this name, it's deciding on its own. It's just attaching -config on the end of the service name I create on the stateful map. I was configuring that originally and it wasn't working. Delta, good morning. How are you doing? Maybe aspirate. But aspirate, I'm going to have to go and do more now, aren't I? It's not going to take this because this is all new stuff. So it's going to take this to generate the publish. So you're going to have to configure all that again in this way anyway. So basically, the tooling is getting there, but like they said, it's in preview. Yeah, I'd have to configure it all here because aspirate isn't going to know about this. Aspirate's going to use this. Well, look, I'll show. .NET tool update G all. That's interesting. .NET because I said preview. There you go. Okay. So I'm in here. Let's do this. Let's do uninstall. Let's remove all those things so we don't have a messy cluster because that becomes nightmarish. Rambling Geek, good afternoon. How are you doing? So yeah, we cleaned up the deployments. That's fine. So if we go to here and here, and we delete everything in there. That's all auto-generated. It's fine. If we do aspirate, aspirate. Oh, too bad. Nice. So let's have a look at it. I mean, it's like the Aspire tooling is, and again, it is preview. I'm not expecting miracles from it. I'm expecting some level of jank, but it definitely doesn't work at this point unless my configuration is very wrong, which I don't think it is. Aspirate init. Initialize aspirate by executing. Will it work here? That's fine. So that's create the aspirate JSON. Aspirate build dash p dot uh aspire app post. Nice. No, I did not do what I thought it did. Does it? Uh, create Aspire manifest resource K. That's K8S does not have a type. Aspirate generate. Yeah, it's fine. Um, Select components. You see, let's do all components and see what happens. Yes. SQL. Yeah, why not? Okay, so what does that generate me? So that creates a namespace definition, ls storage, which is actually the original namespace anyway. It generates a dashboard for an aspire dashboard, which is more than the other one does. That's again local. And then, yeah, so it's deploying this. So I'd have to go through everything in here again with aspirate to do the same thing. So close. I don't think it's my configuration. And I was looking through the, let me have a look. I was actually looking through the Aspire source to see if I could find certain things. This would just be, this is a side quest that I just don't have the energy for right now. And there is an awful lot to this to understand why it isn't referencing things properly. There's a few bugs in here. I was looking through the issues list to see if there's anything highlighting so the thing is, here I do stateful set, right? But I don't think you can do deployment there. Yeah. So a stateful set is a kind of deployment, if I understand it correctly. So that's why it creates the deployment still. Yeah, this one is not going to work. So let's remove the aspirate stuff. Not F12. Let's delete them. So this is a real scenario, right? I know the tooling's coming. I'm happy that this tooling is coming actually at this point because I think this does allow us to keep the. I'm happy it's coming for Liquid Sky, right? Because it does allow me to keep the configuration and deployment close to the prereqs to the point where, you know, I can follow that pattern. If I can figure this out for these things, for these more complicated things, actually building the stuff for Kubernetes here will be much simpler, right? Because the configurations for all these things are way simpler. I did that right. Yeah, Kubernetes environment. That's funny. It knows that that exists as a resource. It just doesn't know what that. That's why it was failing before. It doesn't know what that is because it doesn't know what that resource type is because Aspirate hasn't been updated to deal with that. So what do I do? What would you do? Like if this was real, if this was actual business right now, I couldn't rely upon these tools. These are too cutting edge. Do I just go and write the Helm charts and dislike myself for a long time? Like the Helm charts are. I mean, essentially, I've got the Helm charts because I've created these, right? The Helm charts look almost identical to a combination of, you know, of yeah, the Helm charts look pretty much like these. This is closer in terms of context. We use Helm charts. Honestly, that stuff is copy pasta once they are made. I see that. You know, a lot of this was that was true for. Oh, yeah, there's all this sort of stuff to do. But is that what I do? Do I just decide? Because if I go and do the Helm charts now, I might as well, you know, coming round to Kubernetes from Aspire later is going to introduce a risk that I might not want to take. So I've got all the Helm charts. Paste them into a new one. Maybe make 10 changes and it works. Yeah. Hi Arish, how you doing? Good day. This is most frustrating. Yeah. Well, again, last time I tried to do this for the game library, which was a fraction of the size of Liquid Sky, it took me 3 months to get them right. Something is wrong with the camera, is it? Or is it zoomed in a weird way? Oh no, it's lack of light. It's the fact that I'm wearing a black shirt. Yeah. Ba, ba, ba. 1 second. I'll fix that. For some reason, Windows will not maintain a wireless connection and an Ethernet connection at the same time and prioritize Ethernet over wireless. So I end up having to reconnect to the wireless connection every single time because I have a Wi-Fi antenna as well as the Ethernet. Not for redundancy, for that should sort out the flickeriness. It's a bit dark in the room today, so it should improve that a little bit. Hey Chandu, how you doing? YouTube recommended your channel. I mean live stream, not channel. Well, I'm very glad it recommended it and sent you in my direction. Hope you are okay. Hey Stony, how you doing? Stony's in all the chats all the times. I need to go BRB. I need to take out recycle can. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah. I know it's a hard choice, maybe on me. I might also be in two chats at the same time. Um, oh, I'm in maybe stream too. Um, so what do I do here? What would you do? Right. um, There you go. If you want somewhere better to be that is way more entertaining, much better streamer, go check out maybe. Um, so likely. Um, so the aspirate tooling would work, but I'd have to go through. So I'm getting more comfortable with the concepts, right? I'm getting more comfortable with Kubernetes. I'm getting more comfortable with the wording of what I'm looking at, which pieces I need to look for, how I configure them, etc. So, um, what does Aspire give you? So Aspire here would be giving me the ability to run locally on Docker containers, the same way I do for all the Liquid Sky stuff right now. I could run Docker containers. Um, for the instance where I publish, it will create all the Helm charts for me to publish from, right? Well, the sales pitch isn't over Helm charts. The sales pitch is over, look, you can configure infrastructure, run with it, right? Uh, Develop and test with it. And then when you're ready, just hit a command and it will produce all the Helm charts so you can deploy it, right? And I think I'm coming round more on the ideas. Now I see it in Kubernetes. I see more of a benefit because it's not about one click deploy there. That's about producing the things that need to run for the application to work. I still don't know if that's realistic in a large scale application. No, not realistic. Of course, it's realistic. These aren't these are not amateurs figuring this out, right? Um, but it does. Yes, it's closer to a Terraform. It's closer to Terraform or Pulumi, right? Here's this. So here's the configuration I've just done for the SQL Server, right? Right in .NET in my Aspire host, right? And here's the one I've done in Pulumi. The mouse is getting caught on the bottom of the screen. And here's the one I've done in Pulumi, right? And Pulumi does this. I mean, Pulumi obscures the because Pulumi doesn't work. Pulumi's API is for the gateway. I've done everything in Pulumi, right? I've done the entire stack in Pulumi. The problem is it doesn't work. The tunnel, they've changed the API here. There's no documentation on the API. It's too difficult at this point to split this up. So I need a path that's going to be more reproducible. If I'm so at least if I'm going to Helm charts, I know Helm is a consistent tool and a reliable tool, and also Pulumi does you know doesn't give me anything else. Um, so I can't get this back up using Pulumi. That's part of my problem, right? The tunnel, the configuration for the tunnel is broken. Um, the API for the tunnel is totally different now. Um, Initially, I was deploying this as an image, and now they've got the zero trust tunnel Cloudflare config, but this config is wrong, the documentation's wrong. You do all this now in a different way. And I can't find the documentation on it. And Cloudflare themselves don't have docs on using Pulumi. And Pulumi's docs are all coming soon. And here I created my Docker deploy stack by hand. If it's just Cloudflare, you could just not put Cloudflare and Pulumi. But it's but then I've got mixed mode deployment, right? I want a consistency to that deployment so everything can be brought up, everything can be brought down, and I know that it's all clean and not leaving pieces behind. If I put parts inside of, if I build a Helm chart for the Cloudflare tunnel, right? And then I build the rest out using Pulumi, hoping it works, hoping the API doesn't change, then I've got two different things to use to do the deployment. And we all know how good we are at documenting things like that. Yes. I want the ability to say, bring it up, put it down, bring it up, put it down. The only difference I'm trying to go for right the second over what I initially had is I want to bring the infrastructure components up. And then I want to say, now bring the application components up. That's the right path, because then infrastructure is managed differently than application. And I think that is 100% the correct way of doing this, right? Which, using Aspire, right? And Mojo's going to find this hilarious that I'm now pushing for using Aspire. Aspire would allow me to keep it all in-house. And I see the advantages now. I see where I was missing some of the image, some of the picture, right? Using Aspire, if I can do something like this, where I can configure my local stuff for this stuff over here, I don't need to specify anything from a deployment perspective. I can, well, I do this way and it just adds the projects. Then I can do publish as Kubernetes. And when I do the publish of it, it will publish all the services, right? So there's where I can see the benefit, right? Because then the Helm charts are the Helm charts. I publish it, and that step can be automated in a pipeline and run and executed. That's the benefit. So it's all integrated into my process, and I'm using the same components and testing the same components without all the scale out, without all those needs. So I definitely get it now. Because those Helm charts as well, that publish, those Helm charts can be picked up and they don't have to be automated. They can be published out independently, managed and committed to a repo independently, and all the scaling and stuff can be configured. Any extra pieces can be added, but there's a basis from which to build the application that we know works, right? And we're building it in a similar way. So the Aspire app host idea, I get now. It clicks. So that being said, what would you do? How would you handle this? This is an open question to anybody. How would you approach this right now? Because Aspire's Kubernetes build is preview and is not working. Right? I need to deploy. So what do I do? Aspirate would require me to build everything in this way for then the Aspire, the Aspirate tooling to produce the same charts. but different? Or for right now, do I just build the Helm charts by hand and then use them to compare against what Aspire builds as they release new versions? But Aspire is kind of bleeding edge newer tech. How long to get it working? Well, it's producing bad Helm charts. So whether that's me or it, and I think it's it rather than me, the naming is off. There's references incorrect. But being that I'm not a Kubernetes expert, I don't feel the challenge of going into the Aspire code and making PRs is the right thing to do, right? So I can keep an eye on the issues list and see what happens. Get Aspire working, it's where you want to be, and by the time you want to release in production, it will be ready. Yeah, that's... Yeah. So again, if you didn't see from the beginning of the stream, right? So if I go into here, well, actually, let's do this. Let's create Cloudflare tunnel configuration. Let's do this. Static, public static, void, configure, Aspire no. What is it called? It's a Kubernetes resource. Yeah, I just named a variable K8S. So if we do the Cloudflare tunnel, right? So how would we do that part? So we can't do the Cloudflare tunnel that way. unless there's an Aspire Cloudflare, which I doubt. Aspire star cloud. There is a different way of doing it. So the original way of doing it that I actually had, Cloudflare tunnel Helm chart. Charts, Cloudflare tunnel. The funny thing here is, see, yeah, hold on. Let's see if I can build it. Let's see if I can build this tunnel using the charts before I go through all the effort, right? Yeah, Aspire is so right now. Aspire is working on this piece. Right now, no guarantee that the Kubernetes piece is their primary focus. Right, they're trying to get the platform more stable. They've spent a lot of time, just from what we talked to with Mitch today, they've spent time trying to make sure that the actual concept of here's my application, here's what I'm asking you to build, here you can interpret whatever you want to do from it, right? Because like you said, you could essentially take it and say, okay, make the README file that documents all the pieces necessary to deploy, right? You need to create a SQL service, you need to create this, and here's what the parameters are for the SQL service, right? So that if someone wanted to, they could take that as documentation. I see the why now. I see why. And the more I'm doing of this, obviously, my eyes are becoming more open to the reasons why we might do this. In terms of, um, yeah, app version. Okay, so that's the chart. This is the version number of the application being deployed. This version number should be incremented each time you make changes to the application. That's fine. The problem is, unless I have this up and running, unless I have I have a chicken and egg. Unless I have the gateway up and running, the tunnel is not going to prove anything because I can't connect to it. And right now, if I go to Liquid Sky, it's just going to give me a Cloudflare tunnel problem, which is exactly correct. And again, like I said, the configuration here, this is their API. This is the Cloudflare Pulumi API pieces, but the documentation around this was coming soon. So I'm basically right on the edge of stuff. But ultimately, I need the gateway up and running. And once I've got the gateway up and running, I can get the tunnel up and running. So this is the I suppose this is the intersect from the infrastructure components into the application pieces. So yeah, this is based upon a bit of AI, a bit of documentation, and it's wrong. It won't start. It just gives me an error with the configuration, saying I'm missing a token that I don't know where to set. So, okay. Hi, Digibeats. Do I use Cursor AI? No, I do not. I'm not a big fan of having AI tools take control of my development flow. I often turn them off and use them when I'm looking for inspiration rather than I'm looking for it to do the job for me. I did that. The problem is, Rambling Geek, the documentation is non-existent for this, and the tooling is too new. The AI is months out of date. So all this stuff was because it was actually tunnel config, and then when I went to run it, it's like, no, this doesn't exist anymore. This is deprecated, and it's all zero trust. So the stuff the AI is recommending was the older version of this. So yeah, I have a bit of a chicken and egg here, right? Yeah. So for reference, if I go to CDD dev projects, not Pulumi, infrastructure, Pulumi. Oh, did you update the Pulumi version yet? Because Pulumi version is way out of date. It normally tells me, oh, you're like 10 versions behind, and I can't figure out where it's not installed. But this begs the very real question. Do you as a developer, when you hit this sort of problem, how often do you go and look through the source code? Do you go off and try and figure these things out, or do you move on? If you've got a project, if you've got a deadline, you can't afford to do this. Can you? Do you? Oh, let's see, 3128. Oh, the headphones are dying. But even to the team, what do you do? Like in this situation, right? So I'm not saying you make it up on your own, but what would your path be other than just bring it to the team? If you were having this discussion, how would you fight the fight? Would you make the argument? Be bears for a while, right? What path do you take? That's an open question to anybody who wants to answer that question. Is if you're faced with um, um, a challenge like this, like my infrastructure is broken, the deployment tools aren't working properly. There are newer options coming, but they're not here yet. I do have time, right? I can delay this. I can continue on with the development of Liquid Sky and forget about deployment for a month, right? That is a feasible option at this point because this is going to hold me up too much. Yeah. This drives me crazy. Why? So if I do exit there. Let me look for Pulumi in my installed apps. I'm not going to show that on the screen. You all know what an add remove. So according to this, Pulumi is not installed that way. So if I do terminal, so I just want to make sure that the, okay, daughter, have a good day. So if I do Pulumi version, right, 3177 is the latest version. We can get uninstall Pulumi. No install package. So where is Pulumi installed? Is it where is? Where dash help? No. C program files. Not there. X86. Not there. D, just in case I installed it in a weird place. No. C tools. Yeah, I don't know where Pulumi is. How do you find where an executable is coming from? It's not a .NET tool. Uninstall Pulumi. Windows binary download. So I've done the download. That's the problem. Right. So winget upgrade Pulumi, right? Oh, winget upgrade Pulumi. It won't let me do this because no install pi. Winget install Pulumi. Let's see what happens there. See, it finds 3177, but if I run it, it's like, oh, you're using version 3128. Let's see if this overrides it. And we'll just deal with the fact that we've got multiple in there. See. So this video, by the way, this stream is clearly getting more views than normal, especially on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, thank you first. I do appreciate you viewing. What got you in here? Is there something particular you're looking for? And is there anything you would like to know? Is the question. Or Twitch as well. I think the Twitch audience is well understood. But the YouTube audience is quite large today by comparison. I would like to understand. Clearly putting Aspire and Aspirate in my stream puts it in more people's views. Either that or everyone's watching it on Twitch and YouTube. Okay, so let's see if we can get Pulumi version. I don't understand. What is overriding it? Pulumi version. I just installed version 3.177 and it's still on 128. I want to trust that that is going to work, but I don't know that that's going to get the latest version. That's not going to do all the right checks. So I could be doing configuration issues. Pulumi stuck on version 3.128. Not a thing, apparently. Oh, did I do chocolatey? Do they have chocolatey? Yes, they do. Choco, uninstall. Well, hold on, Choco, help. I wonder if it's because chocolatey overrides it. I bet chocolatey. How do we do it? Is it chocolate ALS? Yeah. Choco list. That's Pulumi. And Pulumi 3.1. So Choco uninstall Pulumi. Oh my goodness me. PowerShell admin. Yes. Choco uninstall Pulumi. So there's a downside to having multiple package managers available to you that do almost all the same things. You end up with a version. So I just did winget install Pulumi, installed 3.177, but 3.128 from Chocolatey was overriding that. Right. And what I'm saying is that's a challenge because obviously winget is a better alternative now to this stuff, but Chocolatey is still there. I still use Chocolatey. But I've clearly used Chocolatey, and I've got to remember because Chocolatey Winget will show the package in your add remove programs. Winget just installs it. It's a shortcut to installing the executable that way. Chocolatey kind of loads it differently, I think. So in this instance, what I probably should have done is I should have gone for my environment variables first. Let's see what happens here. Exit. Lumi was not listed in my program files, in my add remove programs. But now it is. 3177 when I did it through Winget is. Pulumi was not there before. There we go. So yeah, it was not there. 100% was not there before. I don't expect this to magically work now, but right. So here we go. There's the problem I'm getting. So failed to make request post, bad request, right? So it's expecting some extra auth in here, but I do not know what this is. Um, uh, I'd take it because it get me moving forward. I think I'm at the point where though the only option I have is give it a month or two on deployment, but that means just more development without actually sharing the development, which I'm not a big fan of. I'd like to be able to have people log in because yeah, yep. I will paste that to you. Oh, wrong person. So, you know, deployment deployment is going to be a challenge. I get that it's going to be a challenge. It's outside my wheelhouse. It's outside my comfort zone. But what path do I take? I can't use aspirate because it's going to take a long time for me to configure all those components. Right? We just tried aspirate, and basically none of this matters because it's all new stuff anyway. So aspirate's only going to use this. So to have to reconfigure all of this stuff again, and I'm not sure how aspirate works with like with volume. Like I've got to answer questions like how do I do persistent volumes? How do I do all those sorts of things in this language that then gets translated to export Cloudflare token, API token, your token here. I don't have an API token. That's the problem. I don't know where to get an API token. The documentation doesn't make that very clear. So I have, so hold on. Yes. So let me be clearer there. I have a secret, right? I have an account ID, and this is the configuration that I was finding. So you can set a secret, which I have done. There's a tunnel secret, but I don't know where the API token. So if I go to Cloudflare, I gotta be careful here because I know this shows more than I want it to show. Go to Cloudflare, log in. Hopefully Cloudflare isn't having a bad day. Why does this camera feel off today? So, okay. Zero trust, which is where I assume I've got to be. Where do I find the token? Right. Settings. I'm not going to click on that on the stream. Authentication. Oh, hold on. So there is one thing I did neglect to mention. When you do that up, it creates something. Tunnels. So there's the tunnel. That's the one that's down. It does create access. It creates something. That's me. That's fine. Policies. It creates something dynamic and it's got the wrong rules, but it doesn't give me gateway. So yeah, I couldn't. It was not easy to piece together how to get to that information. So there was something it created when I brought that up before that kind of did mention. So it was hold on, I'll jog my memory. App record, tunnel secret. Where was it? was a configuration. Maybe it was on the initial one. Basically, it created it, but didn't have the right permissions as far as what I was reading was saying. It was like, was it in zero trust or was it up? I'm still yet to get my head around what Cloudflare versus what the zero balance versus the zero trust versus the other stuff is. AI, storage, compute, secret store, new. Right, that's the secret. Right, I've got the secret. That's the problem. Right. Account API. There you go. So the API tokens. So basically what happens is when this works, it adds an API token here. Right. I can't create this token. So if I do edit zone DNS, right? There's permissions you can add in here. But that doesn't apply to this. So I assume that's the token. But I don't know how to, it doesn't give you any advice on how to configure that. So if I create a token, edit Cloudflare workers. So there's nothing here that says, hey, here's how to set things up. So if I use this template, zone DNS edit, zone resources include Liquid Sky software, right? So narrow it to Liquid Sky. There was something else as well, account, right? Finding what it is that I meant to add into here was not simple. And there was once I ran it and it put something in here for me that when I did Pulumi down, it removed. So it clearly was doing something. So my secret, my account ID, etc., all this stuff is there. Yeah. 1 second. Let me move that off screen so I can validate where I put those things, because I think I put them in configuration. Infrastructure. Yeah, I did. Okay. Let me move that back over here. Oh, not to the little screen. There you go. So yeah, there's an infrastructure piece there that has some of that information in it right now. And again, they're not secrets right this second, so I'm not going to bring them back up on screen. So what is this asking for? And again, I'm asking this a genuine question. Do I persevere here? Do I try and figure out how to get this Cloudflare tunnel up? If I can get the tunnel up, I can focus on the SQL server. If I get the SQL server up and running again, then I can get the rest of the infrastructure up and running, and then I can deploy the stack. That's great if I can do that. My reason for moving away from Pulumi, which I still think is a better long-term solution at this point, especially considering Aspire now, is the tooling is difficult. The APIs are deprecated that it's referring me to. AI is definitely going to be behind here. And I think as companies start to embrace more of the because I think there's a concept of kind of the robots text, right? Where people can be directed to documentation and whatnot to scan. To scan information so it's more up to date more frequently. I don't have to worry about 9-month-old data. Yeah, because I don't think Claude. Let's see, Claude. Let's see, because Claude is the most current. I am trying to set up a Cloudflare tunnel with Pulumi using Zero Trust. It's asking for a token. Where do I get the token? Again, doing this off screen mainly so that I don't just keep flicking back and forth, but also so I don't so hold on. This might have actually been updated. Hey Marth, how you doing? Yeah, it's a bit of a mix today. So we've been playing with using Aspire and its tooling to produce the Helm charts. Um, didn't go too well. The charts are not correctly formed yet. It's preview code. So what I'm trying to do is figure out, can I get the Cloudflare tunnel up and running using Pulumi, which is what I was using previously. So let me bring this off screen so I don't share anything I don't want to share. So zero trust, access. You see, AI, you're already wrong. Tunnels is not under access. I really want my prompter back. Networks, tunnels. So the AI is telling me that if I go to the Cloudflare dashboard, go to zero trust, access tunnels, find your tunnel and click on it, the token will be displayed in the configuration section. That is not true. That does not happen. Hold on. If I click edit, does it? Refresh token. It doesn't give me the token. This action will invalidate the previous token, but it doesn't give me the token. That's the problem. The token is not visible. Token refreshed successfully. Where's the token? Oh dear. Yeah, he's a token. Yeah, but where's the token? So yeah, I'm trying a mix of things, and I'm open to other people's experience. If you have thoughts, or you've done this before, or you have opinions on how deployment should be done, I'm open to these ideas. I am definitely thinking that Aspire is going in a direction that I now understand a bit more. I have a bit better appreciation for. So yesterday, I went through and got all the SQL Server configuration mapped over from my existing Pulumi output. But when I run this, the charts that it produces don't add the volume. The names are wrong. The strings around things that shouldn't have strings. So it's just generally not valid. And I don't know enough about Kubernetes in general to be able to go and look for why it's doing that in the Aspire code. So the general question is of this stream today is, if you are doing this right now, right, you're trying to get a deployment up and running, and you hit these sorts of problems. Where do I head? Do I go and manually build the Helm charts? Do I persevere with Pulumi, which is kind of what I'm trying to do right now? I'm just trying to prove that, right? Um, what do I do? Yeah. For me, I run Docker in Kubernetes, and I have scripts to generate the YAML files that need to deploy everything. Add attack. Yeah. This is just it's just its own world. There's so much for me to understand here to do this right. And so someone posted in One Line's Discord. If you haven't been to One Line stream before, I highly recommend checking out One Line. But someone posted in his Discord about security, and senior developers have a better idea. I wouldn't agree with that at all. I would say that security is very easy to misunderstand and to skip by, especially when you're working in this sort of stuff, where I could be deploying stuff I can't see here, but once I added still my Terraform setup for deploy no longer worked. Which was super sad because there was a whole YouTube video about how awesome that setup was. I'll wait for that to come back. Okay, you should be back. I hope you're back. Yeah. So sorry about that. What I was saying was, in terms of security, there's a post in one line stream, and one of the developers in there was like, security is better understood, and I kind of disagree. I think there is so much we have to take in these days. The understanding all the different aspects of security, what could actually pose a threat to us, is again, it's its own discipline, right? We have security engineers. As I go through this deployment stuff, I could focus my entire energy on building out the tooling and the flow for getting the deployment done. As I add new services, I've got to then refocus my effort every now and then to how do I deploy this thing? How does it fit into the overall system? What other integrations do I need? Every single thing I do has to come with a plan. And I have to understand the implications of using the tools that I'm building to, from a security perspective, from a whatever. So I feel that this is just a full-time job unto itself. So yeah, Aspire is close. Aspire, basically with just doing this. So the way this is working right this second is if I run the application, I will get a SQL server, right? I will get a SQL server in Docker. That's how that works. If I publish the application, it will do the Kubernetes publish, which is great. I know how to use Vault as a user, and even at running local Kubernetes, etc. I still don't have the local Vault set up for actual secure storage of all my users. Yeah, I'm not even that far along, right? I'm not even to say password. I need an adult. Yeah, right. That's a never mind that. When writing C#, is there a preference for injecting a class or using an extension method? For example, I have a class that relies on a connect event handlers ask class. Should the connect event handlers be an extension or dependency injected class? I don't do really, so feel free. No worries, but is there a preference for injecting a class or using an extension method? I mean, it comes down to your design. I mean, if you have a connect event handlers doesn't sound like a class though. It sounds like an action. Class that relies on, like, if you were writing that as var my class equals new my class new, right? This sounds like an action. So to me, from an API perspective, that would read much cleaner because that's an action that you are taking. For Godot signals, you have to check if they're connected before connecting or disconnecting. Gotcha. So in that case, I would probably go with the extension method because it reads cleaner. Injecting that, unless you have an event handlers dictionary, like, right? So if you have like a event handlers registry, right, or collection or whatever, yeah, registry. We'll go with registry, right? If you're injecting that, maybe, but if you are looking to kind of apply a behavior, I would probably sooner lean towards that because it's an action you are performing on the class, not relying on the class to understand how it works. So it's just a pivot of that. Now, it doesn't mean you have to expose things on the class, but yeah. One thing knows about Signal is not a global boss. Gotcha. So that's my 2 cents without too much more context. The Signal stuff still breaks my brain a little bit. Is it that time already? Oh no, come on. So I ordered myself a treat for breakfast, and I said arrive 9:10 to 9:30. They've just confirmed the order now, which means it's going to arrive before the end of the stream. Um, the sequel equals builder thing resonates with me so hard because I got really mad at juggling all those details. So I went really crazy and it made a DSL for container project kickstart to encode all those details in a reusable form. You know what doesn't arrive before the end of the stream? Apex. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for the answer today. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Can we give Doggo a treat? They're sleeping and they're snoring right now. But that is a good point. Apex has had that redeem on his stream. Can I do a shout out? Apex is building a game and is using dependency injection and unit testing around Godot, which is fascinating to look at. Been focused on a lot of behavioral stuff for a long time. But on Apex's stream, he also has 2 dogs, and they're awesome dogs. They're very well behaved, not like my 2. But he does have a redeem for treats. So, yeah. And you get to see the doggos. So, highly recommend checking out Apex. But, yeah, so with Aspire, I can do this. And I can run this locally, and this uses Docker, all's good. And then when I hit publish, it will publish it as a Kubernetes service and do all the configuration. So I can have the best of both worlds. You can also make it, I think, then you can run local Kubernetes to test this, right? So you can validate it. Because you can run Kubernetes inside of Docker, right? But this doesn't work very well. The tooling is not quite there yet. Aspirate, I would have to basically document all this out in all the stuff that I've got in here. I would have to figure out how to get all in here so that Aspirate would generate the right thing. So I don't think I'm going to go the Aspirate route. I think that would be, considering the path that the Aspire team is taking with getting Kubernetes working, I think it's worth waiting on that. So I think I'm coming to my own conclusions. I've been kind of fishing to see if people do have any thoughts on what they would do here. You can't make the redeems too cheap or you end up with a chunky doggo. So the weird thing is we can put a bowl of food down and they won't eat. Like they'll leave it all day. They'll eat the bowl of food over the course of a day. They'll go up, grab a mouthful, walk off. They'll never just scoff at the bowl. Treats, they'll tear out your hands. Put some rice in that bowl, however, and the food is gone. So yeah, but yeah, I will. I promise, I will work towards getting a doggo cam configured and the space arranged in such a way that it is useful, and then you can choose doggo cam. I would spike getting a Docker container compiler going for C#. OSS driven dev for the most part, so disabling all my normal stuff to build their own Windows Docker containers doesn't sound great. We were also thinking of getting a doggo cam. Yeah. My dog always got raw meat. It was going faster than I could prepare it. These 2 do not starve. They give them a balanced diet for the most part. Does this compare to Windows Docker containers or Linux ones? Linux Docker containers. Right? Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, you can Take that password all you like. You will get access to nothing. I'm a big fan of generating random passwords for every single thing I do as well, by the way. So I don't ever reuse a password these days. Okay, so let's go back here. So I want to test something. So Rambling Geek mentioned this before. What happens if I do? Where did you said it? What did you say before, Rambling Geek? You mentioned. Did you try export? So if I put that into my environment variables, let's see. No, wrong one. Oh, my prompter. That's my prompter is showing as errored in. Oh, not a good time. Click the wrong thing. Okay. Fix the prompter. Oh dear, that's not good. Um, okay, so let me just catch up because you guys have been talking and I've been trying to mess around with that. I got your password. But you should still use it env or config value. So, okay, so on that topic, right? Yeah, if I'm developing locally like this, that's fine. Several of these things have been moved out to environments, and I also have been using, for Liquid Sky at least, I've been using um, Cloudflare, not Cloudflare, SonarQube to kind of monitor those things and keep an eye on those things for me, right? To help with those security issues. Um, if I'm developing and I want to see the impact of that string, I don't want to have to keep going changing my environment variables. So it's challenging unto itself to keep that. So I hold a different attitude when I'm doing development to when I'm doing production stuff. Like I think there's definitely a pass of your application that should be done before you say it's ready for production, right? You should not be taking what you develop and just trusting that it can go straight to production. Um, so yeah, you want to try to until staging is at least start the container you already didn't freak out. Doing a professional setup, you want to be able to run the same container in different environments. You don't want to try to deploy to, yeah. And again, but this is what I'm saying, right? To do this properly, to understand all this, this is again why I'm sharing doing this, good or bad, right or wrong. Um, did this go down? No, everything's still working, right? Stream's still working. Um, YouTube just looks like it's broken. Yeah. Um, I had to work whilst trying to watch the stream. Sorry, Rambling Geek. In Big SO8 and New Relic, we had test, dev, staging, production, and staging and production use the same container. It's just different env. Yeah, which is exactly what I would aim for, right? I do want reproducible and consistent behavior. I don't want different images built. But yeah, there's a lot I got to learn. That's the big challenge here, right? I've got so much to learn. What is it? System. Well, again, how much time do I spend learning? How much time do I spend um, um, developing? Right, an application of any size is going to be difficult to deploy. Yeah, you can knock things together, and I think the attitude of yeah, just publish it is it's an easy one when you're building something smaller. But if you're building something larger, I think you do need to take it. Can't skip learning. Yeah, and I realize I can't skip the learning part. I've got to do it because I'm the only one that can do it. But I'm also a believer if you're in a professional organization, hire people who know what this is and how to do it well. Don't trust that the developers are going to spend their time doing the same thing because you've also got development to do. You're going to get what you pay for. I know you know what you're doing. I'm just saying that having the thought of a file that contains a password and it's okay to show desensitize you and may cause you to open a file stream that you shouldn't. Point well taken, Stony. I do appreciate that. Yeah. It's funny though because I introduced an environment variable in Liquid Sky. So the ls password. So to that point, ls in here, if I add database, you see this is with password. That's an environment variable, right? That actually pulls an environment variable. So it is done there, right? But that did cause some challenges for checkout for Rambling Geek and for Mojo because they had to go and set that. So again, that's the sort of thing development teams are going to do, right? They're going to make those compromises the same way I've just done. They're going to make that compromise because it's easier for development. And again, understanding the implications of the deployment piece, it's just back and forth, and challenging. Zons, hello, how are you doing? Aspire, yes, I'm trying to play with Aspire, but I don't think it's going very well. So Aspire to publish to Kubernetes, it's getting there. It's not quite there. There's some major gaps right now that I can see. I know you may as well spend as much time as it takes to figure it out as you always need to maintain the app. Yes, I get that. But where's my, like you said, I think it's a case of more one dev. I want to develop the features for Liquid Sky, right? I've got to balance. I'm not making progress on Liquid Sky here. I'm making progress on deploying the pieces I do have. Sure, but like there's a lot more to go into Liquid Sky. Am I just wasting my time at this point? Should I push this later? Is the tooling on the edge, right? It's not just about the services though. Services are supposed to be a reflection of the team structure. If you're only ever going to be a team of one, services might not even be right for you. Gotcha. I agree with this point, especially from a channel known for teaching. What, my channel? I'm teaching failure. I wouldn't consider this channel educational. Services are more independently deployable pieces. Yes. I tried it, didn't love it. Yes. So let's make a process analysis deployment as part of it. I mean, okay. So I feel like I'm backing myself into a corner here. Um, I suppose I toe the line of, you know, how engaged, like this is the most engaged on any deployment stuff I've done that anybody's ever been. Right, you guys are more engaged right now than any other stream I've done. So I've tended to avoid deployment, because I don't like failing this much on stream. I understand failure. I'm not afraid of showing failure. I just don't like to be constant failure because it just demoralizes you. Right, you've got to pick yourself up and you've got to, figure out how to fix what you have. And I don't want to um constantly bounce it, because there's a reason why I have that emote, right? Because I'm not very good at going off and reading the manual, because the manual is obviously just a bunch of words that doesn't give me any education. I like to go and figure things out. um For this project alone, I am choosing a more difficult path. And I get that. I could have chosen a way simpler path. I could have chosen a much smaller application. I could have put it all into one monolith and then worked on the rest later. I could have just got the features done with a really simple deployment, one database, one application, all done, nice and easy. I didn't want to do that because I wanted it to be as much of a toy as it is an application, but I also want to treat it as an application. You don't often get to work in this sort of stuff in business, not at this scale, right? Um, um, so yeah, pretty sure more than half of us will see themselves failing and just help out. So yeah, so Aspire. Um, I'm starting to see the benefits of using Aspire. I definitely see why Aspire would help me here, especially for producing the Helm charts with the tools they're starting to build. I don't like the idea of one-click deploy from within Studio or within Rider. I don't like that idea. But this mix mode where it supports me being able to deploy these things locally and work with them locally, but then also when I hit publish with the Aspire CLI, producing me the Helm charts to actually do that deployment, I think is very 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 useful. So yeah, architecture is amazing. I hear you there. I made make number bigger microservices edition to scratch that exact itch, which made me mad enough at time spent to boot to start my SOA architecture project. If you're not aware, by the way, Earth is a streamer as well. I highly recommend checking out when he gets a stream up. I don't know if you have a schedule as such. Um, but yeah, so if you like this sort of stuff, I highly recommend checking out. There's a lot of other good streamers on Twitch. Um, so point taken, my stream is considered educational, therefore I should be doing better practices. I should be being happy to be picked up on credentials, bad habits like that. Yeah, streams do tend to flow. If you can find a schedule that fits for you that you can kind of hold to, even if it's once or twice a week, but you have a time, then people will know to show up at that time. It does help you with getting more consistent viewership. Random streams tend to, you are just lucky if the people that were showing up for the last stream show up, because it just so happens to align. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to stream, this is to anybody, a consistent time. It's also as well why I don't mix my gaming onto this stream, so I don't mess up those times and the people who are coming to watch. But anyway, let's see if we can get this. So what I've just done in the background, we've been talking about that, is that I've added the API token that Rambling Geek suggested before. I don't know if that's necessary. I don't know if that's even going to work, but I need to test it, right? So I think it's the token. I think it's the token. It was not the token. Explain failure. Pulumi Copilot. Yes, please tell me what I did wrong. Oh, sign into Pulumi. But I'm signed into Pulumi. I'm signed in on the other tab. This means the request could not be authenticated. I can't show it because it might show information on the stream. Again, another reason why I don't do a lot of cloud stuff is because I don't know what's going to show when, and I don't like the idea of having to proactively or retroactively edit streams and play around with content. Okay. Check your Cloudflare API token or credentials used by the Pulumi provider. Make sure they are valid and have not expired or been revoked. Ensure the API token has the required permissions to create zero trust tunnels in the specified Cloudflare account. If you're using environment variables, like Cloudflare API token, verify they are set correctly in your environment or CI/CD pipeline. If you recently rotated or changed your Cloudflare API keys, update your Pulumi configurator. That's stunning, but that doesn't tell me to drop off. Thanks for streaming. Awesome progress. Enjoy. I'll be back on Tuesday after vacation. Apex, thank you very much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the gifted sub. I very much appreciate that. Enjoy your vacation. Fun. Thank you. Local with local Kubernetes obviates a lot of that stuff. Yeah. So, okay. Oh dear. So struggle streams are the hardest ones, right? Because this is not, people turn off. People are looking for answers. They're not looking for necessarily failure. So that's what prevents a lot of this stuff being done on stream. I don't like doing it because it's sitting there in a room, talking at a screen and people just disengaging. So that's what I'm saying about the engagement level. I've been setting up my streamers up and showing passwords freaks me out. Yeah, it's a challenge. You got to know what you're showing and when you show it. Like, you know, there's secrets. Make sure your secrets file. You don't show your secrets files on stream. Make sure you have a screen ready for secrets, which I actually don't have configured right this second, but that's always useful if you know you're going to show stuff. I have a second screen. I drag everything off to. It's why I do a lot of. Your order was dropped off. What did I say? I'll be right back while I get that in. I know we're about to finish anyway, but I'll be right back. I don't want to leave that sat outside. Okay. So I'm going to just readjust here a little bit, right? I am not trying to make this about me complaining about doing deployment on stream. I am just sharing the challenges we're doing this on stream. But I do need to get this done. I do need to figure this out. So I think the best way I can do this right now is one of two things. I want to share this program, this application with other people. I want you guys to be able to use it. And for those that are new to the stream, if you haven't seen this application yet, you may not do because I might have broken everything. Oh yeah. That's part of the problem. Docker failed on me. I got a WSL error before. So we'll see how that goes. I will continue to do this on stream. I think what I want to try and do is I want to get to the point where I can deploy the tunnel and I can deploy the SQL Server. That will give me confidence. See how that's not all running? That will give me confidence. Opening terminal. That. Oh, God. What? Oh, did I break that? Did I go and change something I shouldn't have changed? There's no. How to do that? I don't see it. It's just my day for this, isn't it? Line 72. Is it a wrong version of PowerShell? No, it is Docker Compose. I've got the Docker Compose scripts underneath each one. I just feed parameters down so that I can just add a folder, add a Docker Compose, and then set which ones I want to run. So it's just a minor script to do that. Docker dev prototypes Docker. Yeah, so it was that version of PowerShell that was running in that window. That's the problem. Doesn't support the coalesce. That on doesn't often run, so it needs to. This registers the Kafka configuration, so that should be up and running now. I don't know. Again, I realize that is a thing now. I haven't. Well, I also want to be able to pick and choose which pieces I bring up. I want to shut down pieces or restart pieces, etc. So how do I do that with Docker Compose? Where do I learn that? How do I, right, right. So I have no energy for this. That's the biggest problem, right? I don't want to do this piece. I know it's a necessity. It's where do I go and learn? How do I learn how to do those things? What document? Again, RTFM. Remember, I'm not a big fan of just go. I can't go and just read a lot of stuff. I have to do. So, learning that there is a solution for that later. Now I have to pivot and go and do that the correct way. I want to get onto the development of Liquid Sky, right? That's my focus. I want to get the services, the doing the things that I want that I have the vision for the application. The application is now big enough and has enough data to actually support some of those initial designs, which is again a quest that I've been on. So yeah, you can name the Docker Compose service up down, but I've not seen that. I've not seen a combined Docker Compose. I've not somewhere along looking at Docker Compose, I've not picked up that you can use that. So I'm using this. If there's any references you have, I'm more than happy to go and look. If you want to ping them me in Discord or something, that's perfectly fine. Oh. Yeah, it won't let you, it won't let you link yet. Well, hold on. Roles manager. You are 100%. And no. VIP save. There you go. You should have VIP now. Now you should be able to link. So yeah, it's just a case of, where do I spend the time? So I often prioritize one thing over another. And it's the same way in teams. That's going to happen, right? Teams are going to reinvent wheels all the time. It's not new. It's not original. It's going to happen because they don't know something exists. So again, how often do you spend going off and trying to learn the right way of doing things or the way that works? So yeah, that's all this has landed on. It's just the fact that I'm doing that, right? So is this not working? Did it not bring everything up properly? I'll give you food in a minute. See, they know there's food. Yeah. I lean heavily on learn all the things, but I don't have the attention span nor care. Well, not necessarily care. I know that I need to do things. It's just where do I learn? When do I learn? How do I learn? I only have a limited amount of time per day. I only have this 2 hours is the most set time I have. I have some evenings, but I don't get to do a lot there all the time. So it's just prioritization, right? And balance. Um, and I honestly do not think I'm that smart that I can take all this in and do that. So I'm often skipping a lot of knowledge to try and get to where I need to be. But anyway, um, I wanted to kind of just finish by showing Liquid Sky, but apparently that's not in the books. That needs to be completely restarted, I suppose. That's probably erroring quite heavily behind. So I think what I need to focus on is getting the deployment through through Pulumi to at least deploy the infrastructure, and then I can bring the services up. And when I can do that, I can demonstrate things, and I can focus on the deployment separately. The ideal here is I have a deployment configured that has pipelines that will run and produce produce the end result every single time I do a deployment. Every time I merge into a release branch or a staging branch or whatever, it will do the deployment for me and not have me worry about that. And I want to practice that, right? So you know, I cannot become an expert in everything here, right? I cannot become an expert in Kubernetes. I cannot become an expert in Pulumi. If I want to continue my focus on building out an application that is going, the next steps of Liquid Sky are major components, right? The whole notifications piece, the whole design there. So, but anyway, I will be back tomorrow. I will be returning with a longer stream tomorrow because I will be on my own and it's a day off. So we'll get that done. Anyway, don't forget, it is Wednesday. I have already shouted him out, but I've got to wait another 20 minutes. Don't forget, it's Wednesday. One Line streams on Wednesdays. Go check out One Line. I highly recommend it. But for now, we're going to raid over to Maybe. He should know this is coming. But maybe he's developing his application. Most of you are already there. I will be back tomorrow. I will try and get over a bit of this hump. the Pulumi documentation says add the API token. What's the API token? Right? It doesn't tell you the API token on the dashboard, no matter what the documentation says. So I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try and figure this out. I will see you then. Thank you very much for all the support. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the push. I appreciate the just the general interaction. This is why I stream, because we can build better things together. So take care all. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye.